Hello, welcome to Portal's Portfolio series, where we will have readings and interviews with student writers and published authors from Vancouver Island University and around the country. We'll talk with them about what it takes to be a writer in the ever-changing world of publishing. Portal 2021 is currently being designed by Chantal Calitz, and all 104 gorgeous color pages will be shipped off to the printer on March 24th. It'll be on newsstands in late May. Stay tuned for information about our 30th anniversary virtual launch to be live streamed on Facebook in mid-April. It'll feature contributor readings and merch such as new t-shirts, mugs, and book bags to mark 3 decades of publishing in the heart of Vancouver Island. Hello, everybody. I'm very excited to have Lisa Kremer with me today on the Portfolio series. Lisa is a third-year anthropology major student at Vancouver Island University, and she is doing her minor in creative writing. Lisa was a nominee for the English Department Essay Competition back in 2019, and in 2020, she was the nonfiction editor and copy editor with Portal Magazine. This year, in Portal 2021, Lisa's nonfiction memoir titled "The Devil Will Have No Part" will be her first work to be published. And today, Lisa Kremer joins me from her home in the Quw'utsun Valley. Lisa, thank you so much for being on the Portfolio series.
Thanks, Joe. It's really great to be here.
Awesome. I think we were in class, was it 2 years ago, journalism class, the first year, was that 2019?
Yeah, back when we could sit in seats next to each other and talk.
Yeah. I remember even we were doing feature writing, and your work was very creative, even as features. I got criticized for being too academic with my writing, but I remember yours was very like expressive and creative.
Thank you. I always like to try to see the story in things.
Mm-hmm. What first drew you to writing? What made you interested to take creative writing?
It's always been kind of on the back burner for me. Like from the time I was a kid, I was writing in journals all the time and imagining that I would be an author. And I kind of set it to the side, although for years I wrote blogs and but it kind of was set to the side and got rekindled as I came back to school. I thought, well, why not? I might as well take some writing courses as electives and we'll see where it goes.
How did you find VIU? What was it that attracted you to VIU as a school?
Well, it's interesting because I have changed my major probably 3 times. So I just wanted to learn, and I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do as a career because I'm kind of coming to school as an older student. So I had kids, and now I'm at a place in life where they're busy and in school. So I wanted to get an education and do something. So it was very spur of the moment when I decided to go to school. It was December, just before my birthday, and I was hanging out with friends and talking, and they're like, you should go to university. And I'm like, okay. And January I was enrolled. So it's pretty cool.
What was your first major that you started with?
It was physical education with a minor in psychology.
Oh.
Or maybe it was the other way around.
That's quite a switch to anthropology and creative writing.
Exactly, yeah.
What attracted you to anthropology?
Oh, I just, it's the story of humanity. It's from everybody from way past to the present, and just seeing how we all connect to one another and what makes us human.
That's really cool. What are some authors or books that inspired you to write, or continue to inspire you to write?
There's been so many. I have been a voracious reader of memoir for quite a long time. Like I remember kind of losing my interest in fiction. Not that I don't like fiction, but I kind of switched over somewhere in my 20s to mostly reading nonfiction. Um, but some of the really good ones I've read: Educated by Tara Westover, The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls. Um, I've read some what would be titled as ethnographies in anthropology, but they're really the same kind of thing. It's like a biography of someone's life. Um, but one I read was Yak Girl by George Doma, and it's her whole story of growing up in the Himalayan mountains and just the challenges she went through. So I just love reading about people's lives and learning about people.
So that sounds like a good link between creative writing and anthropology. Because if you write too academically, then you lose some people. But if you're writing directly about people's lives, then it becomes sort of a universal.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually hope to use my creative writing in the field of anthropology. I could definitely see myself just finding ways to make that academic information more accessible to everyday people, whether it's for, educating children. Like I could see myself writing books for them about the way people used to live, or whether it's for an adult audience, just being more creative about how that information is conveyed.
Excellent. Your nonfiction memoir, The Devil Will Have No Part, is being published in this year's Portal magazine, Portal 2021. Would you be able to read a passage from The Devil Will Have No Part?
Great, yes. The day I stopped eating, I woke up with a stomach ache. I felt exhausted and lacked the energy to be a pretty, cheerful, and precocious fifth grader. My mom let me stay home from school, curled up with a panda stuffy under my pink blanket. The curtains were drawn and the room was dark. I faced the wall and picked at a blister of paint. The old beige paint chipped away, revealing a small crack in the drywall, the inside of which was even darker than my room. Last Friday night, my dad let us rent Honey, I Shrunk the Kids from the corner store. I wished I could be like the kids in the movie. If I could make myself small enough, I would climb right inside that crack and hide, or maybe even disappear. My mom came in to check on me a few hours later. I told her my stomach still hurt. I said no to toast and oatmeal, and at lunchtime, no to chicken noodle soup. I crawled downstairs and reclined on the couch to watch daytime talk shows. Across the room, our tabby cat curled up in a rocking chair. When Honey, our sweet but slow to learn dog, had one too many accidents in the house, my parents got rid of her and we got a cat instead. I missed laying my cheek on Honey's warm belly and stroking her golden silky fur while she nuzzled me with her nose and licked me with her soft pink tongue. She always seemed happy to see me, unlike our boring cat. When my mom went outside for her daily bike ride, I pushed aside the scratchy Hudson's Bay blanket, rolled off the couch, and snuck into the kitchen. I scooped Neapolitan ice cream from the 4-liter bucket into a mug, being careful to scrape away from the sides of the tub instead of leaving a cavern in the middle. My dad ate ice cream almost every day, usually in between his day job and the contracting jobs he did most evenings. I didn't want him to notice that I was stealing his treat. I poured milk over the mounds of ice cream, and the strawberry pink and chocolatey brown bled as I stirred it to the color of mud, thick, cold mush. The creamy sweetness slid into the hollow of my belly. It only took a few moments to gulp it down, and I greedily tipped the mug over my face so I could lap up every drop. Some ice cream must have dripped onto the outside of the mug because I suddenly felt a cold splotch on my thigh, seeping through my thin pajama pants. No! I grabbed the soggy washcloth from where it hung on the kitchen tap and dabbed at the smudge. Feeling a sense of urgency, I rubbed the brown mark, attempting to remove it from the light pink fabric. I couldn't leave a stain. Finally, the spot faded, leaving a large wet patch in its place. I washed the mug and put it back in the cupboard. This was one of my secrets. I made sure to turn off the TV and get back into bed before my brother came home from school. I didn't want to talk to him. I worried that he might question my sickness, maybe even mock me for staying home in bed when it looked like there was nothing wrong with me. I curled up into a ball and pulled the blanket over my face. The If he approached my door, I would lie very still and pretend to be asleep. The squeak of the stairs alerted me that Jeff's lanky body was bounding up the stairs, probably 2 at a time, as he headed to his bedroom across the hall from mine. His backpack clunked onto the hardwood floor. My door creaked open, and I held my breath, forcing myself to be as still as possible. There was silence for a moment. Then he thudded back downstairs. The air under my blanket was humid and stifling, but I needed to stay hidden. If only I'd stayed home when my brother invited me on that bike ride with Clint. I should never have played hide and seek with them, because finding Clint in the bushes, naked, and exposing himself to me was one of the most horrifying and embarrassing moments of my life. And that was only the beginning. My tummy growled, and I curled up and made myself even smaller.
Thank you. That's this piece is very heartbreaking and brave to write. It must have been very tough. There's such a subtextual imagery here of the speaker, you covering yourself up with the blanket, always covering things up. And then that contrasted with Clint, who's exposing himself. And then you also have that interwoven with relying on ice cream, kind of filling a void with ice cream. And at the same time, later in the story, your dad, who is very evangelical Christian, really relying on religion to be a solution to something instead of finding the real problem. Is that what you had in mind when you were writing, that the idea of filling a void or filling a gap plus the covering up?
Well, I definitely wrote very much in my voice as a child, and in the way the story unfolded, the way I saw things as a child. And everybody has their own view of how events unfold and their own interpretation. So for when it moves into further in the story about the religious side of things, my family growing up, we had a very expressive spirituality, and even just our understanding of good and evil, and that God is good and the source of evil is all the devil. So if the source of suffering is the devil, the way to beat him is through prayer. And that really was the reality of some of these things in my childhood. But even in that, I know that people use the best tools that they have. They use what they know to be best. So I have great respect for having faith, and yeah, it's complicated when you look back at the way things happened as a child. But I think I captured just that innocence of who I was, what I felt like at the time. That's what I hope to do anyway.
Yeah, that's and writing something like this is a way to explore that, I guess, to look at your childhood and things that were significant in your childhood that made you who you are now, but to explore them through writing.
Yeah, it's definitely been a process, just being courageous enough to put the words onto paper, and being in a place where I can do that, because I'm taking ownership of things that happened in my life. But my reason for doing it is because I know there's other people out there who will connect to my experiences. I know throughout my life, I've read so many books that spoke to me, that I could read their story and think, oh, they understand what I feel like. I've been through something like that too, and just how that helps me on my own journey. So I hope that my story is like that for others.
I remember in some of our creative nonfiction classes, the instructor would say that you should write about the things that you avoid. You're avoiding. There's always something you're avoiding writing about, and that's usually the most meaningful thing to write about. But it seems like you tackled it head on right off the bat, which is
Yeah, I don't know
Impressive.
what I was thinking. I don't know why I submitted it, but oh well, it's the start of a new journey
Yeah.
of speaking up. Yeah.
What does your writing process look like? What does, like, when you're writing a story like this, you said you earlier that you journal a lot. Do you chip away at it day by day and then form it out, or do you sit down and just hammer it out?
Well, part of my problem now is that I'm really steeped in academic writing and just for the anthropology side of my degree. So I don't have a lot of space for creative writing. However, it comes to me in spurts where I will just often, if I'm out on a run or something and thoughts will just kind of go through my mind and I'll be dictating into my phone like a line that just sticks out to me, and that's usually, you know, a launch point. I'll just madly write for a couple hours and be like, okay. So even though I know it'd be probably very productive to just set aside time every day, I haven't disciplined myself to do that yet. So yeah.
What does your revision process look like? Like once you get a first draft down and you have to go through, say after a workshop, I assume that, did this piece get workshopped in class?
No, yeah, this was totally just something I wrote for myself. Even just I'm working on a larger project, so I have a big manuscript for a memoir that I'm hoping to publish at some point. Um, but I just as an exercise to kind of explore how I might craft some of my chapters in that memoir. I thought, oh, I'm going to write stories from, you know, earlier in my life, and so this was one of them. I just thought this is a very poignant time in my life. Um, it shaped me quite a bit. What happened at, you know, this event, and even just not eating, and now as an adult recognizing, oh, I was depressed. Like that's what that was. So yeah, it was just one of my random writing things that I thought, oh, I'll submit that. Why not?
You worked as the nonfiction editor, or as one of the team of nonfiction editors last year for Portal. How did that experience working as a nonfiction editor impact how you wrote this piece, or um, choosing to submit it?
Definitely. Like I was inspired by the pieces that came in from other people and like the ones that I got to work on as an editor. It also helped me to understand how good it is to have a second and third and fourth opinion and like just that other set of eyes on your work. Like it's really humbling, and it's a little painful when someone gets in and says, hey, this doesn't make sense, or you should say it this way. But it's so valuable just to open yourself up to that process. And I think the fact that I'd done some editing and seen the process before made me ready to experience it on myself and my own work.
Yeah, this piece is so personal and so tied to personal experience that it must be tough to have someone go through and change your words, suggest different ways of thinking about it.
Yeah, I think it's true because just pouring out these words on the page um, is very cathartic, and it's, you know, it's my heart on a page, and having somebody get in there is challenging. But now on the other end of it, on the other side, you know, I can read the final product and go, yeah, it's still my story, but I can see how it's cleaned up and expressed better, and you know, there's value to what was done.
Excellent. Do you submit a lot? Have you submitted a few times?
Yeah, I've have some pieces out that I'm, you know, haven't heard anything back yet, but I'm just kind of getting into that scene and hoping to do a lot more submitting.
How do you handle rejection?
Not very well. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I think that was one of the things that when I first started university, I actually didn't want to go into writing because I thought, oh, it's just, there's so many people that want to be writers. And, what's the point? I'm just like, will I ever make anything of myself? Or is it just kind of like a hobby that I want to do? But I think it's worth it to keep trying and to get your voice out there. And yeah, I'm excited to be in Portal. It's just the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, congratulations on having your piece in. And thank you very much for doing this reading and interview. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Joe.
Thank you for watching the Portal Portfolio Series. Portal is a literary magazine published by students at Vancouver Island University's Creative Writing and Journalism Department on the territories of the Snuneymuxw, Quw'utsun, and Tla'amin First Nations. For more information about Portal's portfolio series, please visit portalmagazine.ca.